Well, tonight we meet a man who dropped out of a civil engineering class in the UK to start a business that would later lead him to Africa, where he set up a real estate empire. On KTN's Money and Power, we introduce you to Ian Henderson, the Managing Director of Superior Homes.
Money and Power in association with Johnny Walker.
When one talks about real estate in Kenya, dozens of names come up, and Greenpark is one such player that is trend-setting in the African property market. It's Thursday morning and in time for my appointment with Ian Henderson, the genius behind Superior Homes. Few people set out to chase after their dreams with the kind of tenacity that Ian Henderson has, leaving his native home of Glasgow in Scotland to set up a business from scratch in hardship-ridden countries in Africa. So I seek to find out where it all began.
She put us to a decent school, so we came out with reasonable grades and applied and was accepted.
In 1974, Ian Henderson enrolled to study civil engineering, keeping in line with his mother's wish to afford her children the best education, with his other two siblings taking up law and medicine. However, this was never to be. After 1 year, he dropped from school.
But after a year, I had decided that it wasn't for me. A year's study. Yeah. My mother was very disappointed.
Stung by an entrepreneurial bug, Ian left campus to work for a car rental company.
It took a few years, but I think she came around that was the path I was going to follow, rather than traditional degree education and employment.
At that time, the government of Scotland was encouraging small businesses, and so at the age of 22, he quit his job at the car rental company to start his own.
When I left the car rental firm, I bought a van, and I drove the van, and I charged myself out as a van and driver, so doing removals, shifting things around, and that was the start of what became a road transport business. Yeah.
For the next 5 years, Ian dedicated his time to build his transport business. However, it was in a television program that triggered the journey to Africa.
And I saw a television program with trucks in Sudan delivering aid, and they didn't look very well organised, and I thought, I could possibly do a job there. And I applied to various organisations and got a job with Save the Children Fund in Sudan and then Ethiopia.
Upon securing a job with Save the Children non-governmental organisation, Ian moved to Khartoum in Sudan in 1986. After 6 months in Africa, Ian got more confidence to make Sudan his new home, and his family stayed behind in Scotland. What followed was 4 years of working for different NGOs, a move that saw Ian work in Angola, Mozambique, Ghana, and eventually working for the United Nations for 3 years until 1992. In 1995, the UK suffered an economic recession that hit hard the transport business, forcing Ian to sell off his business.
I had spent so much time away by 95 that coupled with the recession in the UK, the business was beginning to struggle, and there wasn't any profits there. So we decided we would sell all the assets and invest that money in property in the UK.
After carrying out logistics and construction supplies for a few years, a friend suggested that Ian looks into the Kenyan market. This is what would later be known as the birth of Superior Homes.
From 2005, when we secured the land, it was then a question of finance. And a development like this can take quite a lot of money to get it out the ground. We chipped in a fair amount of money from the family resources, but we still needed to borrow a couple of £100 million shillings, and that proved impossible.
With credit from financial institutions not forthcoming, Ian had to rely on family savings and well-wishers. Slowly, things began to pick up and the money started to trickle in. With the first successful project putting out 27 housing units, Ian then set himself for a new target of putting up 70 houses per year.
All of the designs are from the UK, from Europe, from America. This open plan design where there's no high walls and no razor wire, and neighbours look after the neighbour rather than everybody having a garden in their compound. That's certainly borrowed from overseas.
What followed was the present-day Greenpark estate, a development consisting 600 units on a 150-acre property. Simple mathematics will put the value of Superior Homes in the region of 4.2 billion Kenyan shillings.
In terms of the finance, we started with relatively small money, as I've explained, and grew the business very slowly through a fairly painful period. You know, in total, 600 units times 6-7 million shillings is the value of Green Park.
For a man who has worked all his life to build a real estate empire, what does Ian Henderson, a father of 3 grown-up children, do for relaxation?
I split my time between living on the site here in a show house when I'm in Kenya. I spend about half the time in Kenya, half the time in the UK. So I split my time between here and the Mathega Club in town when I've got meetings in Nairobi and so on. So I divide my time a little bit depending on what I'm doing.
Ian, whose favourite football club happens to be Everton, says he sees a lot of traits responsible for his success in his children, with his eldest son Stuart involved in business and his youngest son is setting up a restaurant. And Ian's philosophy in life is:
success is based on a combination of things, and even if you don't have education, you can make up for it with something else. If you don't have experience and you have education, you can make up for that with determination. So really I think it's about setting your objectives and just letting nothing stand in your way.
Ian Henderson is a man who believes in dreams, and I'm standing right here at the Green Park, where dreams come home. For KTN Money and Power, I'm Boni Tunya.
Money and Power.